broken.
I snake you up when I'm mad, I love you anyway. Pulling out the poison facts that never goes away. Sleep with my veins, I can sleep with my tongue, rosé laying in my brain. Stuck in your shadows, sing on to the gallows. I'm the sun that beats a bowing. If I wake up in a world that got redundant, my brain was just some different sense for the king that wants to do death goes destiny. Someone's in their life, takes my life burden. Taste me.
Backstage at Heavy TO in Toronto, Ontario, and another Megadeth legend is with us, Mr. Chris Broderick on guitar. Welcome to Toronto, Canada, and the sweltering heat. You have to tell me how you deal with these kind of temperatures before getting on stage and even after getting on stage.
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. And you know what the funny thing is today actually feels pretty calm compared to what we've been in the past week. So we started off, you know, everything was nice and mellow. We worked our way up to Seattle and then went down to Phoenix. And then we had to play in 102-degree heat. And then from there, it was like we followed the heat wave. It just kind of came with each next festival we played. Literally playing in St. Louis was like, I mean, it was like constantly taking a shower on stage. It was, I mean, it's the craziest. So with that said, this is definitely going to be a warm one. But I think we're actually used to it now, so we're like, oh, it's another day.
But thank you for making the trek up here, because this is a very special event, one of the first open-air festivals in Southern Ontario. How important is it to bring that European festival mentality to North America, so we have success stories like a Vaughan or a Donington or a Gods of Metal in our hometown?
Well, I think it's very important, but I think most of all, it has to become realized by the fans and by the crowd. I think the Heavy TO definitely has potential, and I think it's going to gain legs each next year. This is, I think, a great showing for how early this festival is. And I hope it only gets bigger, because not only does it promote a great time, you know, I love these festivals, but it helps promote our genre as well.
Now, a couple of big things to talk about. Of course, the Big Four, and you've got a brand new record that you just completed. Now, you being kind of the new guy, not you're the really new guy, but I guess in a sense, the semi-new guy. How are you fitting in with writing new material, with working with Dave Mustaine, all the Daves, right? And how is it working out for you?
I think it's working great. You know, for me, to step into this is a little bit. It's a little bit odd in a way, because I do come from a different background, and the Daves, they've had their whole career kind of come up parallel together. So they know stylistically where each other's coming from all the time. And that's something that I have to conform to. So for me, my writing is always kind of based around what would they do, you know, kind of that kind of a thing. So that's what I try and do my best. And then once everything is written, then maybe I'll add, you know, some melodic or harmonic touches over the top. Things that add a different element.
So we won't see any writing credits, courtesy of Mr. Broderick on this. Or it's just you're inputting solos and working with Dave on rhythms and solos?
Yes, exactly. So You know, I don't know. There always can be last-minute changes, but who knows? We'll see.
You can probably give the best synopsis of a Megadeth record because you haven't been in the band that long, but you were a fan. So how would this rank as a Megadeth album, in your opinion, from a fan standpoint?
Well, it just depends on your interpretation. I think it'll be great because I'm so tired of hearing, I get a new CD and from song to song it's the same thing. You know, it's like, even when you turn on like, you know, like the hard rock, the metal, serious stations, you know, it's like even from band to band, it's almost sounds the same. And this CD is not that at all. It goes everything from back to Killing Is My Business type of sound, all the way up to like Countdown to Extinction, mid-tempo stuff, and even some stuff that I would say sounds somewhat like Endgame. So, you know, it's kind of like almost like a timeline of Megadeth.
Now, in this digital age, hate calling it digital age, some bands are questioning why even bother doing a full album. Maybe we should just release singles. Do you still have that old school mentality that you want to put together a side A and a side B and release it as a full piece of material?
You know, I don't know that that's necessary anymore, but at the same time, me personally, if you notice, when you do listen from CD to CD, there's always some sort of unifying material behind it. You know what I mean? So you can always hear differences from CDs to CDs, and I always like to get that full picture as opposed to just one song, just that cut in time. Even if some of the other songs might not be as good as the songs that you would normally download. So I still like getting that full 12 songs because I think it clues me into a little bit more about what a band was feeling, what they were thinking at that time, and where they were going.
So how would you describe the mood with 13 and when you got out of the studio, when you hit the stop button?
Well, some of it's very dark sounding, some of it's very kind of like punchy and in your face, and then there's a lot of old school thrash with like Sudden Death and Never Dead and even some of the other tracks on there. So
let's jump to the big four real quick. As an old school fan like myself, I'm pinching myself that this is even happening. And yourself kind of being the newish guy in Megadeth, and to be on stage with the big four, like, what, you must have to smoke something or do something to kind of get in the, I'm joking, but you know what I mean?
Yeah, well,
it's like, my God, am I really here?
I think, you know, I kind of fooled myself in the beginning because I was like, oh, I first heard about the Big Four shows coming up, and I was like, it's just going to be another large festival with 4 big bands on the bill. But that's not what it was at all, you know. Before we even played, the day before, we all got together for dinner, all of the bands, and you know, started just hanging out, having a good time, and it became evident right then and there that it was much more about really escalating the idea of, you know, thrash metal and bringing it to the forefront again and really bringing it to the people than just 4 individual bands going up and doing their thing and being done and moving on to the next gig, you know. So to me, it was like this huge camaraderie thing. I'm so much more a fan of it now than I ever was when I just thought, it's just going to be another festival, you know?
Was there anybody in another band that you clicked with that you didn't know, that you kind of interacted with and shared stories or just became better friends?
Well, I think all of them to an extent, you know, because we hung out with so many of them, you know, whether it was Kerry, you know, from Slayer or Rob Caggiano from Anthrax, you know. It's just, you see them so much in the hallways and just hanging out in the dressing rooms and backstage and stuff like that. And you just start to hang out with all of them and kind of get to know them individually.
Would you like to see it as a full-on tour? I know we did the California thing, the Yankee Stadium thing's coming. Do you think it will grow tired? Do you think the bands will grow tired, or do you think North America deserves a full-on spectacle of the Big Four?
I think as a fan, I would love to see that. And, you know, for me, I think it's really going to depend on how much the fans would want to see it for it to materialize. But I sure hope it happens, you know. It'd be a great tour.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
I appreciate the chat.